most of these resources are still in Africa, and they're not being stolen by Europeans. They're actually being sold to Europeans by the African state leadership. Your own elites are robbing you. It's not us doing it, not anymore.
There is this white man, he's talking about the resources of Africa and how our leaders of Africa, they are using our resources. You know, we have been thinking, or we know for a longest time, that the white people or the colonizer or the oppressor, they are the one who are taking our resources from Africa. But this white man is displacing that and saying that our resources are still in Africa, and the African leaders, African politicians, they are the one who are selling these resources to the colonizers. Okay, let's listen to this and then we react about it.
If you've been on TikTok for a while, you must have heard about a ton of Africans telling you that Europeans stole Africa's resources. Now, there's a lot to say about that. First and foremost, most of these resources are still in Africa, and they're not being stolen by Europeans. They're actually being sold to Europeans by the African state leadership. Your own elites are robbing you. It's not us doing it, not anymore. The real issue, of course, is why aren't Africans using their own resources to do things? Why does Mr. Beast have to go to Kenya to build water wells? Why didn't the Kenyan government do it themselves? I suppose the Kenyan government could have done it themselves. They just chose not to do it. Nigeria is now a country of almost 220 million people, the largest country in Africa. But they only produce about 10% of the electricity that a small country like Hungary. Hungary only has 10 million people, but they produce 10 times as much electricity as Nigeria does. I mean, I know you want to have your Wakanda, right? But do you expect white people to give it to you? No, you're supposed to build it yourself. Having said all this, it is of course obvious that we Europeans in the North need to prepare for a possible, potential African rise in terms of technology and therefore also in terms of military capacity. And that means we in Europe need to already start looking ahead and thinking ahead about how we are going to win the war against Africa, because there will be a future war between Europe and Africa.
Welcome back. Now, from my stand, from the place I stand, I believe that percentage of 100% of this is true. Yeah, it is true. It is true that our African leaders are the one who are selling our resources to the colonizers. It is true that the resources of Africa, it is still in Africa. It is true that Africa, we have everything. Africa, we have everything. From where I stand. But I believe the white people or the oppressors are manipulating these black leaders for them to give away our resources. Let's listen to this lady, her reaction, and then we talk about it.
Our leaders are the ones killing us. You have heard from him. He said, our resources are being sold to the West by our African leaders, which is true. The West is not entirely gone. The West are the ones manipulating our leaders because they are still here. Some of our leaders are like puppets, controlled by the West. Someone like Gaddafi, they saw the kind of development he was doing to his people, and they manipulated his people against him. If you see any African leader that the West doesn't like, that the West is kicking against, know that that African leader is doing something good in the life of his people. Look at the young man in Guinea. How many coups have been plotted against him since he overthrew the president? He has chased France out of his country. Now, people are even mobilizing against him, including the Nigeria's president. So guys, let me tell you all, African youths, this is the time. This is the only tool we have to stop this. This is the time for us to let them know that we know what they are up to. These our leaders are up to. For how long are we continue to fold? We are going to continue to fold our arms and watch our brothers drown in the Mediterranean Sea in search of greener pastures with our colonizers? For how long are we going to watch our sisters being brutalized in Saudi Arabia by the people they are working with them as mates? For how long are our graduates in Africa going to continue sleeping under the bridges with certificates in their hands with no jobs? For how long are the African youths ready to die because they don't have good healthcare system? African youths, you might have 100 followers, you might have 200. Speak life into this nation. It's time for you to stand up. We cannot continue to suffer like this. We deserve better. Our motherland has blessed us. Our nation has blessed us with everything. Without Africa, the West is nothing. Everything about the West comes from Africa. They cannot even talk about history. They cannot even talk about their own history without mentioning Africa. It's impossible. So guys, this is the time. I won't overemphasize. I won't over-labor this point, but this is the time. I will continue talking. For those of you who always come for me and say, oh, leave our president. I will not leave any president. If you are doing anyhow or you collect anyhow, if you lie, you come to my DM or you send your people to my DM to threaten me. That is the least they can do. They will not shut this mouth up. The hunger for change in Africa is in me, and you cannot even kill it. If you are an African youth and you are not tired of this suffering, then something is wrong with you. Something is really wrong with you. Listen to how this man is saying it. Was it difficult for the Kenyan government to provide its people with borehole waters? Why does it have to be Mr. Beast coming all the way to come and do it? Is it difficult for the Kenyan government to do it? No. But why do they choose to treat their own people like this? I'm sorry that Kenya collected a stray bullet here. Even Nigeria is used as an example. Nigeria cannot boast of electricity. A giant of Africa cannot boast of electricity. The person that did us this in Africa needs to pay so that we should be free. I've said my own. If you like, you sit quiet.
Welcome back. Now, let's discuss this. The thing that I've been talking about for a number of times, that our African leaders, some of them are selling Africa to the white people, or some of them are the puppets of the white people. Because, for example, let me take example of Congo. Congo is very rich, has like everything, copper and everything, gold, everything. But they will be fighting every now and then. And Congo, the fight of Congo started long way back. Up to now, they are still fighting. And the reason why Congo is still fighting is because of these natural resources. And now, there is leaders of Africa, there's leaders of Congo and neighboring countries. They are sponsoring these fights. They are sponsoring these fights because they want to get these resources. And they want to get these resources so that they can sell them to the white people. And the white people too are here manipulating these people, selling them guns and bringing fights among them, causing them to fight. So in all these scenarios, there is a white person there, there is a colonizer there, and there is a black African who is selling his people. In this scenario, there is a colonizer and there is a black person, an African leader who is a puppet to them and selling these resources to them. But our resources still in Africa. Our resources is here still in Africa. But we as African leaders, they cannot use those resources to build Africa. They use those resources to enrich themselves and to make their stomach full and full. They cannot use that resources to make Africa great, but we have the resources. We have them. We have them in our midst. We have the golds. We have the copper. We have the cocoa. We have the oil. But few individuals who are the puppets of the whites, they are being used by the whites, being used by these oppressors. to take away our resources. And that's why the new generation is waking up, and they don't want, they are in fear. They are in fear that new generation is waking up and the younger leaders are coming. That's why they don't want young leadership in our country. They don't want young leadership in Africa, because they know we have fresh minds and we have learned. We went to school. We know what they are doing. We know, but they don't know how we think. They don't know how we think, but we know how they think. We know what they are doing. And that's why they will fight every day, and old people will be at power every time for them to protect their agenda, for them to protect oppressor agenda. And their agenda is to make sure Africa is taken away. The richness of Africa does not help Africans. The richness of Africa does not help an African. And this white person, this white man said that there will be a war between Africa and the oppressor. And that's true. That's true. War is coming. War is coming between Africa and the oppressors, because Africa is waking up. The youths, the Gen Z are waking up. Look, for example, Kenya, they are fighting IMF. They are fighting foreign powers. They are fighting the puppets. They are fighting the colonizer. That's Kenya. Yes, people are losing their lives, but the youths, they know what's right for us. At the time at Kenyans we are now, when we have oil in our country, or we are mining something in our country, believe it or not, no one will take away from us, because we know it's ours. The youths are waking up, and it will create a war between Africa and the oppressor, because the oppressor will be oppressed, and we will fight the puppets. We will remove the puppets from the power. The power will come back to the people. And this new generation of youths, I urge you, it's time. It's time. We are not our parents. It's time. And we are doing it. We are doing it. Our resources is still in Africa. Gold is still in South Africa. Copper is still in Congo. No one is taking our resources. But you will never see a white person coming here and start digging these resources. You will never see a white person coming here and start mining our resources and taking them away. You will never see a white person, military, coming here and started securing the area and taking away the resources. But you will see the black army there. You will see a black leader. You will see a black people mining and taking it away, and giving it away with two hands to the white, to the colonizer. We sold our brothers, black Americans and Afro-Caribbeans. We sold the Jamaicans. We sold them. The black people sold them. The black sold them. And this mentality of them is still running in the blood of these people. It's still running in the blood of Tunubi. The old leaders, still running in the blood of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. The mentality of oppression, the mentality of poverty, the mentality of only one people or one type of tribe will benefit, or one family will benefit. We need to do away with that. We need to do away with that. See how these white people are using our resources to benefit themselves. Just the other day, Ghana was given back their resources on loan. On loan. Even Uganda was given back their resources on loan. To be there in Ghana, they come and see, this is our gold, this was our stool of our chief, this was what. And then after 2 years, the British will take it back. You see how these things is being done. And when we started talking as the youth, they will say that we don't know anything. But we know more, because we learn this history. And let me urge the youth, it's time, learn history of your country. Learn history of your country. Know what belongs to where. Know what belongs to where. Know who did this. Learn. Let's have this education. Let's educate ourselves about our own Africa. And that's the only way we can liberate ourselves. Let's learn about the laws of our country and the constitution of our countries. That's the only way we can liberate ourselves from the oppression of when we know what they know, we will use what they know to bring back our country. See what happened in Kenya. We learned about IMF and the taxes and our constitution rights and everything, and we knew this is the way to go, and this is the way to go, and they are doing this to us because of this and this. That's the only way we can liberate our country, because when you are trying to liberate your country without knowledge, it's hard. They will ask you, what are you fighting for? You don't know what you are fighting for. Why are you fighting this? You even don't know what you are fighting is. Why are you taking our property? You think, oh, it's your property. No, it's not theirs, because you don't know. The people of Ghana, you will allow your goals, your resources to go back to British, because we don't know the history. The history say this is a property of British that they took away from Ghana, and we clap and accept. Yeah, it's true. Our resources is still here in Africa, but our leaders choose not to use them to liberate our countries. Our leaders choose to enrich them to the foreigners. Our leaders choose to give them away to the foreigners. Our leaders don't choose to use the resources to build our countries. You saw the other day when the presidents of Africa, 54 states of countries, they were calling South Korea, because South Korea want resources from Africa. African countries, they don't use those resources to gain respect. Now they are being called, all of them, head of states, and they went there in South Korea, or is it North Korea? All of them, because they are going to discuss how the South Korea will get resources from Kenya, from Africa. Our puppet was there. What's that? Let me tell you an example. If we use our own resources to build our own country, tell me, where would Africa be? Where would Africa be? It will be far. The youth of Africa, it's time. It's time. That's my agenda, and that's my words to you. Tell me what you think on the comment section. Tell me what's your take on this topic. I am the Kenyan Beast. I'm waiting for your comment, and let's do it the African way every day, every time. Peace be with you.